Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I want to start off today's video with a pretty sensitive topic, the addiction of masturbation. Now, I know some of you might be a little hesitant or unsure about what exactly we're going to be talking about here, but I really want to dive into this issue. It's something that a lot of people experience in silence, and it's important to shed light on it in an open and non-judgmental way. For a long time, masturbation has been seen as something that's completely natural, something that everyone does, and for most people, that's true. But what happens when it goes from being a natural part of life to something that becomes an obsession or even an addiction? And when it starts to interfere with your daily life, relationships, and overall well-being, what do? Let's start by talking about what addiction actually means. When we think about addiction, we often think about things like drugs, alcohol, or gambling. But the reality is, addiction can come in many forms, and it's not just limited to substances. It's anything that becomes a compulsive behavior, something that you feel the need to do over and over again, even when it's causing harm. When it comes to masturbation, there's a fine line between something that's healthy and something that's excessive. The truth is, masturbation is a normal and healthy activity for many people. It's a way to explore your body, relieve stress, and experience pleasure. But when it starts to feel like you can't stop, even when you want to, it's time to really take a step back and evaluate what's going on. So, how do you know if masturbation has crossed the line into addiction? Well, one of the biggest signs is when it starts to take up more and more of your time. It could start out as a casual activity, something that you do once in a while, but over time, you might notice that it's happening more frequently. Maybe it's taking over your thoughts, and you find it hard to focus on anything else. You might start to plan your day around it, or even feel irritable and restless when you can't do it. Another sign of addiction is when it starts to interfere with your relationships. Masturbation, like any other addiction, can create a disconnect between you and the people around you. You might withdraw from social activities or find that you're no longer interested in physical intimacy with your partner. In some cases, people might even start using masturbation as a way to avoid dealing with emotions or difficult situations. At this point, it's important to ask yourself, why is this happening? Why do you feel the need to turn to masturbation so often? Often, addictions like this stem from underlying emotional or psychological issues. Maybe there's stress in your life that you're trying to avoid. Maybe it's a way of coping with loneliness, anxiety, or depression. And while masturbation might provide temporary relief, it doesn't solve the deeper issues that are causing you to feel the need to do it repeatedly. I've spoken to a lot of people who have struggled with this issue, and one thing I've noticed is that it can become a form of escapism. For many, masturbation is a way to check out of reality for a little while. When life gets overwhelming, it's easy to slip into a cycle of using it as a way to feel better, even if that feeling is temporary. But the problem is that this cycle doesn't solve anything. It just keeps you stuck in a loop where you're relying on it more and more to deal with your emotions. And let's not forget the impact it can have on your physical health. While masturbation itself isn't harmful in moderation, excessive masturbation can lead to physical discomfort or issues like soreness, fatigue, or even interference with your sleep patterns. It's important to listen to your body and recognize when something might be too much. If you're feeling worn out, physically drained, or like your body is starting to suffer from it, that's another red flag. But beyond the physical and emotional consequences, there's also a sense of shame and guilt that often comes with addiction. The thing is, masturbation is often a taboo subject. It's something that's not openly talked about in many cultures, and that can lead to a lot of shame when you feel like you've crossed the line into addiction. People may feel embarrassed, as though they're doing something wrong, and that can make it even harder to talk about or seek help. I want to be clear here. If you're struggling with this, there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's important to acknowledge what's happening and to take steps toward addressing it, just like you would with any other addiction or unhealthy habit. The first step is recognizing that there's a problem. The second step is to seek support, whether it's talking to a therapist, a doctor, or even a support group. There are people out there who can help, and you don't have to go through this alone.